Hi, I'm Chris Anderson, an architect on the Avalon team.
And I'm Don Box. I'm an architect on the Indigo team. What we're going to do today is take a look at XAML. If you saw the Lap Around Longhorn episode that we did a while back, we use XAML a lot. What we're going to do in this episode is just look at XAML in isolation without thinking about what frameworks it works with. So we're going to take a minimal program and we're going to build it in such a way that part of it lives in code and part of it lives in XAML markup. So let's go ahead and move to the editor.
We've seen a lot of XAML in the past that targets Avalon-based applications. And given that Don and I like playing around in the console once in a while, we thought we would go into a little different programming model here. And so what we're going to do is we've started with a basic object model for writing console-based apps. And here we've created a console app-based class that will give us a list of statements. And each one of those is going to be either effectively a write line or read line. Because we found that those were way too complex, right, Don?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so we have a base class here called console statement that has an abstract do method. This just will allow us to do a little polymorphism on these statements. And we have an out, which if you look at the do here, it uses that new color console feature of Widby, and we can actually set the foreground color and then write some text out. We've defined a event handler because so the inputs actually we need to do something with that input. So we're going to have a little event inside of our in statement that needs to pass the string back the user typed. So we define the event args and the handler. And then we have our actual in class, which you can see in its do. It just simply outputs a prompt, reads a line in, and then fires the event. Great. So we built our object model, and let's go add some XAML. Okay. So we're going to create a myapp.xaml. That sounds fun. So we're used to the starting tag always defines that base class for your app, your class. And so here we're going to start with console app.
Yes.
And what we need to do is import the XML namespace. So now here should be a question people should be asking is, well, how are we going to get that namespace in? Here we're typing in some arbitrary string, and somehow we have to tell the XAML compiler where to get that from. So, Don, if you would, a PI.
Yes, a processing instruction, as we call them in the industry.
Processing instruction, yes. So we're going to specify the CLR namespace we want to import, which is MSDN TV, and we are going to specify what XML namespace URI that we want to map this into. So we're going to use the same namespace used below. Cut and paste to ensure correctness. And finally, we need to specify the assembly it's going to come from. This is the aptly named OM as the assembly.
That's it?
That's it. And we should be able to close off the PI. Great. And if we close off the console tag, we now have the beginning of our console app.
Conceivably, we could build now.
Conceivably, we could build, although we haven't built a main yet, so it wouldn't be able to do a whole lot.
Good point.
So let's put a main in. So we'll use the fun def code. And missing an exclamation point. Otherwise, you're all good.
Okay. You can tell my editor doesn't know about how to do mixed mode XML and C# yet.
Yeah, you're still using that ancient Emacs. We'll teach it soon.
Cool.
So let's just say new console app.
Actually, don't I need to give myself a class name?
Yeah, you do need to give yourself a class name. So def and class.
Okay.
Call it myapp is fine. And we need to define the def namespace. So let's do, if you used XAML before, you should be familiar with the XLNS def being equal to definition.
So this is an intrinsic part of XAML, not...
Yes, correct.
Great.
So now we should be able to say new myapp and then app.run.
That's it?
Yeah, except your C data is missing an exclamation point, I believe.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like we could try compiling this. Probably won't do a whole lot. But before we go and try building, we should add this to the project file.
Okay.
So this is kind of your standard project here. We have a reference to that OMDLL. So we're going to say that we want a pages, which we can see that's kind of a weird name for this because really it just says do the XAML compiler.
Yeah.
Which this isn't quite a page. So let's drop to the command line. We should be able to build.
Okay. Looks good.
Yeah?
Should we try it?
Let's try it.
Perfect.
It did nothing.
It did nothing.
Wow.
That's what I wanted.
That was a lot of markup to do nothing.
Yes.
So let's make it do something a little more interesting.
Okay.
So we'll go back to the XAML. And since we haven't done anything to the application to make it really XAML aware, what we need to do is actually specify the name of the property that we want to adjust here. So we're going to say console app.statements. And this is using that complex syntax where I can take any attribute value and make it be an inner XML tag.
So basically what I'm doing is lining up against this property down here in the original object model.
Right. And since it's a list type, XAML automatically knows how to add values to it.
Oh, great.
So we should be able to just put an out tag, which if you remember from earlier, we have a class in there called out.
Okay.
And we'll, let's say, set the text attribute on out. Hello world, the obligatory, yes.
Great.
And let's try building that.
Okay.
So we can see that the properties on the class are mapped directly to the attributes on the XML tag. So we define a text property here, and so now if we run, I know. Do you notice there's actually an extra blank line there?
I did notice that.
Try selecting the text with your mouse.
No. Really? Hang on.
Oh, it should be there. Huh. All right, let's take a look at, let's try setting the color of the text just to make sure that it's coming out with the right color.
Okay.
So say color equals red, how about? Yes. Let's try
Great.
running that.
I'm seeing double.
Wow. A little scary.
So now let's try it again.
Ah.
So the default text color for consoles is white.
In my code, it is white, yes. So if we look at that object model, we'll see it actually specifies the default color being white.
Okay.
Right there. Color equals white as the default value.
Oh, wow.
And we have a white background in the console. So it didn't show up.
Hence it was invisible.
So you'll notice something else about this, which is that that color property is of an enumerated type, the console color class, which is part of the would-be CLR. And XAML was automatically able to take the enum name and convert it to the enum value. So if we look at that XAML, we didn't have to specify any magic to have happen here. It was just a regular object model with properties and enumerated types, etc.
Cool. So I could, that means let me guess, I could probably do this, yes?
Yes, this should work great.
Wonderful.
It's multicolored.
Yes, it is. It's a rainbow.
It's a rainbow of console.
Cool.
So we've done the output side.
Okay.
But let's use the in tag. Now, if you remember from earlier, that has some events on it. So we're going to be able to see what happens and how you can handle events inside of this markup.
Okay.
So in, and it has a prompt attribute, which is what we want to show the user.
And okay.
And then we want to handle the event. And so events, just like properties, get mapped to XML attributes. So here we should be able to say input equals, and we need to give it the name of the function that we want to have handle the event.
Okay.
What would you like to call it?
I'll call it the time.
Excellent.
Okay.
So now inside that def : code section, we need to define the event. Void the time. Excellent. You're like a pro.
Yikes. Okay. Great. And now, what do we want to do?
Maybe we should output something.
Okay.
So let's do console.writeLine. Maybe it is now.
Text?
I think it's a.value. Okay. Let's take a look at the code. We can see what that is.
You're absolutely
Yes.
correct.
A.value.
Great. And are we going to run into the same issue with color?
That right line, I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out. And the viewers will find out with us.
Yes. Great. So it looks like we're
MSDN
done.
TV is nothing if not live.
Yes.
Let's build. Do you think any of the viewers at home do betting pools to see if it's going to succeed?
I have no idea. So, there we go. Shall we?
We shall.
Wow, it worked.
So we can see that just a plain event was able to be mapped into XAML with no additional attributes or anything else on it. We're able to create that statements collection and add values to it. But if you've used XAML before, you know that not everywhere do you have to fully qualify all of these things. Sometimes you're able to kind of take shortcuts and specify some default stuff.
Yeah, so for example, what if I wanted to not have to put this wrapper element around those guys?
Okay, so there's a simple interface that we can implement on the console app to effectively make one of these properties be the default. So let's go to the om.cs file.
Okay. Okay.
So the first thing we're going to do is add another namespace, and it's the msavalon.windows.serialization. This is just kind of a namespace that has all the XAML extensions. So if we make console app implement the interface iaddChild,
Okay.
and iaddChild defines two methods. They both return void. One is called addChild that takes an object, and this is if we find another element underneath you, another object, for example, an out tag, etc. So here we probably want to change this into a statements.add of C. Now, it's a generic collection, so you'll actually need to cast that to a console statement.
Great.
Strong typing with generics.
Yes.
It's a feature. And then the other method is void add text. And this is if we encounter text inside of here. So this doesn't need to do anything because we don't need to support that.
Great. So now I should be able to go back to my XAML file.
Yes.
And nuke that.
Correct.
Nuke that. Get these guys to all indent correctly. And it's actually going to do, I'm assuming it'll do the exact same thing, correct?
It should do the exact same thing. Okay, looks like it was built. That's a good sign.
Yes.
And if we run,
Wow.
look at that.
Great.
So should we go daring? Should we try to use add text?
Yeah, I was wondering why the out tag.
Why you have to say text equals inside of there?
Why
Okay,
can't I just do normal markup?
let's make that be a normal markup. So go back to the OM file.
Okay. So on out, I'm going to implement iaddChild again.
Correct. Yeah.
And this time, it's going to be the opposite of what I did here, correct?
You're a quick learner.
Yes. So
delete the
add child, I'm never going to get called on.
Correct.
But in here, what I will be doing is I will say, what is it?
Underscore text equals, or text equals
Text
text.
equals text.
Right.
Great. So given that, I could go back to my XAML file.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Why don't you
that.
change that a little so that we can tell it actually happened?
great.
Fabulous. Now let's try building.
Okay. It
There
worked.
we go.
Wonderful.
Look at that. So you can see that XAML is really this general purpose programming model that you can use any object model for. And all those features that you've seen inside of XAML kind of traditionally that uses the Avalon elements, you can take advantage of right here. You could even imagine us extending this to where we had a line tag and you could do color formatting within that line using the color console class.
So we've seen that if you've got the Longhorn PDC build, it's pretty straightforward to take an existing object model and program against it using XAML. The reason for this is XAML simply is taking advantage of the property and event system that's been inside of the CLR since day one.
Thanks for joining us.
You may remember us from our Lap Around Longhorn episode. As you know from Longhorn, that episode, that there are three pillars to Longhorn: Avalon, WinFS, and Indigo. And as it turns out, it's December. And every December is Windows Day, as you probably know. And around Microsoft, we love to sing songs about Windows Day. So what we've done is we've prepared a few songs just for this special episode of MSDN TV to get us into the Longhorn Windows spirit. Shiny icons, busy icons, rendered alpha-blend style. On the screen there's a feeling of Longhorn. Children laughing, pixels dancing, using tile after tile. And on every new desktop you'll see Avalon. Avalon, it's Longhorn time in a city, twinkling, rendering, soon it will be Longhorn Day. Strings of vectors, even sectors, blink of white, red, and green, as the coders release each new treasure. Shaders code crunch, quartz is our lunch, this is Bill G's big scene, and behind all this XAML you'll see Avalon, Avalon. It's Longhorn time on the desktop, rendering new bling bling. Soon it will be Longhorn Day.
So now that we've covered the presentation pillar, we want to kind of take it down a notch with one of the quieter portions of Longhorn, WinFS.
WinFS bound, WinFS bound. None are lost, all are found. Structured storage out in the wild. Metadata so rich when it's filed. Seen by old past new light. Seen by old past new light. WinFS bound, WinFS bound. Index all words, sights and sounds. Queries reach to the heavens afar. Schemas describe the sands and the stars. Now that Cairo is born, now that Cairo's reborn.
That leaves us with one last pillar, of course, which is Indigo.
XML once was a simple little hack. Now with XSD, there is no turning back. So can make it clean. Simplicity is near, at least until the working groups like Query out next year. Oh, Indigo, Indigo, Indy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to send a message on its way. Hey, Indigo, Indigo, Indy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to keep it HTTP away. Oh, schemas come and go. Whizzle is okay. UDDI will not go away. Wait. Wire formats bring many standard bytes. How do we ship them before the day the profile gets it right? Oh, Indigo, Indigo, Indy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to send a message on its way. Hey, Indigo, Indigo, Indy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to blow J2EE away. Thank you so much. I hope you have a happy Windows holiday, just like we will.